In 9 minutes, I'm going to show you 5 kitchen accidents so horrifying that 3 of them ended with bodies being literally cooked inside machines. These weren't murders, they weren't suicides, they were just normal days at work that went catastrophically wrong.
Jose Melena, cooked alive, inside a tuna oven. Jose Melena, on a cold October morning in 2012, 62-year-old Jose Melena arrived early for his shift at the Bumblebee Foods tuna processing plant in Santa Fe Springs, California. He was a father of 6. He had worked in that factory long enough to know every machine by name. That morning, something needed fixing inside one of the plant's massive industrial pressure ovens, 35-foot-long steel cylinders used to sterilize canned tuna at extreme heat. Melena climbed inside to make the repair. It was tight, dark, and smelled of metal. He crawled in. His co-workers did not know he was there. They closed the heavy oven door. Then they switched it on. The temperature inside began to rise. 100 degrees, 150, 200. The oven climbed all the way to 270 degrees Fahrenheit, and Jose Melena was trapped inside with no way to signal anyone, no way to stop it, and no way out. He was in there for nearly 2 hours. When workers finally opened the oven door and discovered his body, the scene was so horrifying that the case prosecutor later told the court, "You don't have warm blood running in your veins if you're not affected by the way this guy died. I cannot imagine a worse result of violating safety rules." Bumblebee Foods pleaded guilty to criminal safety violations. 2 plant managers were also charged. The company was ordered to pay $6 million in penalties and settlements and spent an additional $3 million replacing the old ovens so that no worker would ever need to climb inside one again. The 6 children Jose left behind received none of their father back. Issa Ismail. Boiled alive in a wedding soup vat. Issa Ismail. On June 15, 2021, 25-year-old Issa Ismail was working a catering job at a wedding banquet hall in Zakho, in the Kurdistan region of northern Iraq. He was preparing chicken soup, the kind made in enormous quantities for celebrations serving hundreds of guests, cooked in cauldrons large enough for a man to fall into. That is exactly what happened. While leaning over the boiling vat to stir, Ismail lost his footing on the slippery kitchen floor and fell in. The soup had been cooking at full heat. His entire body was submerged in boiling liquid. Co-workers pulled him out as fast as they could, but the damage was already catastrophic. He suffered third-degree burns over 70% of his body. His skin, in many places, was gone. He was rushed to the hospital and kept alive for 5 days, fighting for his life. He was 25 years old, a married father of 3 young children. He had been earning approximately $17 a day for that wedding job. On June 21, 2021, Issa Ismail died from his injuries. The wedding he was cooking for went on. His 3 children grew up without a father.
Barry Griffiths, killed by a frozen burger. Barry Griffiths. In July 2023, 57-year-old Barry Griffiths was alone in his flat in Llandrindod Wells, Wales. He had suffered a stroke some years earlier, which had left one of his arms weaker than the other. That evening, he took 2 frozen burger patties out of the freezer to cook himself dinner. The burgers were frozen solid together. Griffiths picked up a kitchen knife to pry them apart. He pressed the blade between the 2 patties and pushed. The knife slipped and drove straight into his own abdomen. Because he lived alone, nobody came. Nobody checked on him. He staggered through the flat, leaving a trail of blood through the kitchen, the hallway, and the bathroom. At some point, he collapsed and did not get up again. Days passed. When a wellness check was finally requested and police entered the flat, they found his body. The freezer drawer was still open. The burgers were still on the counter. The knife and a tea towel lay on the floor. The coroner described the scene as a horrible sight. An investigation ruled out foul play and suicide. Barry Griffiths had simply been trying to make himself dinner. He was 57 years old. He died alone in his kitchen over a frozen meal, and nobody knew for days. The next story involves 2 experienced professional chefs who cooked the last meal they would ever eat. and they had no idea what was in it.
Liu Jun and Tisu Xiang killed by their own soup. Death cap mushrooms. Liu Jun and Tu Xiang. On New Year's Eve 2011, two kitchen workers at a Chinese restaurant inside the Harmony German Club in Canberra, Australia, decided to cook themselves a private meal after their shift ended. Liu Jun was 38. Su Xiang was 52. They were colleagues who had worked side by side in the same kitchen for years. Someone had brought in wild mushrooms, gathered from outside. They looked like perfectly normal edible mushrooms, similar to the straw mushrooms commonly used in Asian cooking. So the two chefs did what chefs do. They cooked them into a soup and ate it together. What they had picked were Amanita phalloides, death caps, the single most deadly mushroom species on Earth. The terrifying thing about death cap poisoning is that it gives you no warning at first. The soup tasted fine, they felt fine, they went home. Then the symptoms started: vomiting, severe abdominal pain, organ failure, specifically the liver and kidneys, which the toxin destroys from the inside. By the time doctors understood what had happened, it was already too late. Death cap toxins cause irreversible damage before symptoms even appear, and there is no antidote. The only hope was a liver transplant. Neither chef survived long enough to receive one. Liu Jun and Su Xiang both died on January 3, 2012, 6 days after their New Year's Eve meal. They were not cooking for customers. They were not careless people. They were two professionals who made a single, unknowing mistake, and it killed both of them. The restaurant confirmed the mushrooms had never been part of any menu item. The club's kitchen was shut temporarily while investigators confirmed that no customers had been exposed. One death cap mushroom contains enough toxin to kill a healthy adult. Liu Jun and Su Xiang had each eaten an entire bowl of soup. Mordehay Grunberger. Trapped inside an industrial dough mixer. Mordehay Grunberger. In the very early hours of January 16, 2026, 71-year-old Mordehay Mickey Grunberger arrived at the South Florida Kosher Market Bakery in North Miami Beach, Florida. He started work around 3 or 4 in the morning every single day. That was his routine. He had done it for years. He was a beloved figure, a pastry chef known throughout the South Florida Jewish community, a husband and father of 2 sons, a grandfather. His wife would later post on social media that she had lost her best friend. That morning, Mickey was alone in the bakery working with the industrial dough mixer, a massive machine designed to knead enormous quantities of bread dough. At some point, he became entangled in it. The machine was still running. By the time anyone found him, it was over. Police and OSHA investigators arrived and examined the scene. They found no evidence of foul play. The machine had simply caught him, and it did not stop. He was 71 years old. He had survived a lifetime, raised a family, built a career doing something he loved. He was found dead inside the same machine he had operated hundreds of times before, in the bakery he came to before sunrise every single day. OSHA launched a full investigation into the bakery's safety procedures. The viewing platform, the machine, remains at the center of that investigation to this day. His family is still grieving.
If you learned something new, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.